When Sojourner Truth rose to speak in 1853 in New York City at the 4th National Women's Rights Convention, it all came together. There was a hostile mob in the hall, shouting, jeering, threatening. She said, "I know that it feels a kind of hissin' and ticklin' like to see a colored woman get up and tell you about things and women's rights. We have all been thrown down so low that nobody thought we'd ever get up again. But we will come up again, and now I'm here. We'll have our rights, see if we don't. And you can't stop us from them. See if you can. You may hiss as much as you like, but it is coming, and I am sitting among you to watch. And every once in a while, I will come out and tell you what time of night it is." After Nat Turner's violent uprising and Virginia's bloody repression, the security system inside the South became tighter. Perhaps only an outsider could hope to launch a rebellion. It was such a person, a white man of ferocious courage and determination, John Brown, whose wild scheme it was to seize the federal arsenal of Harper's Ferry, Virginia, and then set off a revolt of slaves through the South. In the first video, I mentioned John Brown. That's who John Brown was. That's who was executed by the government because his plot was uncovered, but he essentially was trying to do what Abraham Lincoln eventually did by larger scale violence. John Brown, tried to do it by smaller scale violence. But because the American military and the militia came through, it didn't work. Harriet Tubman, 5 feet tall, some of her teeth missing, a veteran of countless secret missions piloting blacks out of slavery, was involved with John Brown and his plans, but sickness prevented her from joining him. Frederick Douglass, too, had met with Brown. He argued against the plan from the standpoint of its chances of success, but he admired the ailing man of 60, tall, gaunt, white-haired. Douglass was right, the plan would not work. The local militia, joined by hundreds of Marines under the command of Robert E. Lee, surrounded the insurgents. Although his men were dead or captured, John Brown refused to surrender. He barricaded himself in a small brick building near the gate of the armory. The troops battered down a door. A Marine lieutenant moved in and struck Brown with his sword. In John Brown's last written statement in prison before he was hanged, he said, "I, John Brown, am quite certain that the crimes of this guilty land will never be purged away but with blood." Ralph Waldo Emerson, not an activist himself, said of the execution of John Brown, "He will make the gallows holy as the cross." Of the 22 men in John Brown's striking force, 5 were black. Two of these were killed on the spot, 1 escaped, and 2 were hanged by the authorities. Before his execution, John Copeland wrote to his parents, "Remember that if I must die, I die in trying to liberate a few of my poor and oppressed people from my condition of servitude, which God in his holy writ has hurled his most bitter denunciations against. I am not terrified by the gallows. I imagine that I hear you, and all of you, mother, father, sisters, and brothers, say, no, there is not a cause for which we, with less sorrow, could see you die. Believe me when I tell you that those shut up in prison and under sentence of death have spent more happy hours here, and I would almost as lief die now as at any time, for I feel that I am prepared to meet my Maker."